Okay, so why is learning so uncomfortable at times? Now, I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning. I have a lot of school, a lot of education, and I can say that for the entirety of this lifespan, I have spent my time and my energy learning lots of new and different things. Now, there's no way in our lifetime that we can learn everything, but I want to talk today about some stages of learning that are predictable that actually were coined by a theorist named Abraham Maslow. So if you've studied psychology at all, you know that Abraham Maslow wrote he called them the basic needs, or this pyramid, this hierarchy of needs. And that's not what I'm talking about today. He also wrote a wonderful theory called the stages of learning. And he says that when we're learning anything new, we go through 4 predictable stages. So I'm going to talk about those today, and you may want to write these down. The first stage is unconsciously incompetent. When we approach any new task, and July 1st for you physicians out there is residency day. It's the day that new residents, new doctors don their white coats for the first time and start. And this idea about being a doctor, and I'm not a medical doctor, but I've worked with a lot of medical doctors, and I've been around residencies and done a lot of training in and around the medical profession in my years. And I understand that when you think about becoming a surgeon or becoming a doctor of any kind, you think to yourself, well, how hard can it be? You know, other people do it. It's happened before. And when we are in this first stage called unconsciously incompetent, it means that we don't know. We don't know that we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. We are, in fact, clueless. And I'd like you to think about if you've learned to drive on a stick shift car. There are people around that have learned to drive on a stick shift car. My brother, who I love dearly, took me to the high school parking lot when I was, I think, 14, and had me drive his 1971 Toyota Corolla, yellow, if you must know. And of course, I thought, well, my brother drives, my mom drives, my sister drives, how hard can it be? And of course, if you know what I'm talking about, when you get into the car for the very first time, no matter how much instruction, how much preparation, you're going to stall the car, you're going to grind the gears, you're going to forget the clutch and that kind of thing. So that's unconsciously incompetent, our very first stage of learning when we are in fact clueless. Second stage. In that moment when you stall the car and you grind the gears, and your brother, in my case, is saying some expletives to me about what a loser I am, that is called consciously incompetent. In that very painful moment, we realize that we don't know what we're doing. Now think back on anything you've learned. I teach therapists, I teach social workers and therapists of all kinds, and the very first patient, the very first client, the very first session, you know all of a sudden all the things that you should be asking and you forget. And so take that and translate that into your profession, or when you were not masterful. Consciously incompetent is that second stage where you are painfully, I call it the holy crap moment, when you go, oh, holy crap, I have no idea what I'm doing here. That was stage 2. Stage 3, he says, is consciously competent. So after you've done the thing, you've driven a car for a while, you are competent, maybe minimally competent. You are driving. But remember, when you have to keep your hands on the wheel, you have to look forward, you're not fiddling with the radio, you're not putting your makeup on, you're not, distracted, and you have to be very conscious to what you're doing. Now, I hear from some physicians, particularly surgeons, that this stage is a very important one because, as I talk about in the last stage, you need to be conscious to what you're doing for some of these very critical things, pilots, things like that. Even though stage 4 is unconsciously competent, which is basically you can do it with half your brain tied behind your back, there are those disciplines which require, because you can't predict exactly what's going on with complexity of variables, you need to remain really conscious. So stage 4, once you've had a lot of practice, a lot of experience, and many years of time under your belt, you become unconsciously competent. Think about now when you drive home, even in a stick shift car, and sometimes you'll get home and you won't remember how you got there. You've been in that driving trance. You are, in fact, unconscious to it. And what Maslow said is that all things that we learn go through these very predictable stages. So if you're learning some things new, celebrate it. Understand that this too shall pass. You will gain mastery, you will gain competence, and you too will become unconsciously competent. Have fun.